It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Fantatrax TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. We're back once again with your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. And Mr. Naylor's not with me this week, so I've got a special guest on, Mr. Mark Newbold from Fantatrax.com.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Mark. How's life down with you?
Life's very good. I've got a beer on the go. I'm picking chicken curry out of my teeth. Life couldn't be better.
There, that's what you want. What more could you ask for?
Not a lot.
It's been a very, very interesting week in the world of Star Wars and Lucasfilm this week. Lots happening. I'll give you a rough idea of what we're going to be discussing on the show. So we're going to be discussing the potential return of Indiana Jones, the return of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Star Wars connection to that, Matt Smith becoming a villain in Star Wars Starfighter, which is again another Star Wars return.
It is.
You visited Propstore and got to get your hands on a very special lightsaber. We'll be discussing that. Some changes are afoot at Galaxy's Edge, so we'll be having a look to see what that could mean. R2-D2 ANA's plane is being retired. I'll be celebrating that because, you know, I hate droids. And just a little small matter of Lucasfilm settling their lawsuit with Gina Carano to end out the show. And what does that mean? Will she be making a return to the galaxy far, far away, as Lucasfilm seem to indicate she will? So a lot of exciting news, a lot of quite heavy news, but lots of news indeed that you've had to get posted on Fantatrax.com all this week, Mark.
Yeah, it's been a good week this week, like you say, very varied. Obviously, we'll talk about the Propstore thing. A nice, interesting week for me, certainly. That was fun. And yeah, finished with a nice, light, breezy, easygoing, no landmines there like. Topic. Yeah.
Nice, happy, clappy show.
That's the one, happy, clappy. Very much. Yes.
Let's get straight into the news and what have we got coming up first? The return of Indiana Jones, something that came up on the news front this week, which I don't know. How do you feel? Would you like Indiana Jones to come back, or is Indiana Jones so connected with Harrison Ford that it's difficult to see Indiana Jones return?
It is definitely difficult to see an older Indy and not envisage Harrison Ford, but we have had a younger Indy with Sean Patrick Flannery and other actors have performed the role in various sort of eras of Indy. So now, given that Harrison is, what is he now, 83? I think playing the 20-year-old Indy is probably a little bit beyond Harrison, and I think with the de-aging technology and the different applications for that, it's great to sort of drop little bits in here and there, but as an ongoing sort of, if it's a TV show, a weekly scenario, that's not sustainable. It's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's too much work, too much cost, not enough return. So recast. So yeah, I'm all up for it. I want to see And we'll get to another character I want to see more of later on in the show. I want to see more Indiana Jones, and so I'm quite happy for them to find an actor that they can use potentially, like Harrison, for 40 years if they want to do it. Let's start this guy out in his 20s and let's roll through his career. And if that takes us in the gaps between Temple of Doom, Raiders, Last Crusade, and onwards to Crystal Skull and onwards to, Dial of Destiny, I'm all for it. So, yeah, I think that's a resounding yes. I think they should do more with Indy.
I'm not too sure how much I place credit to this rumour. My gut feeling is that Lucasfilm are not going to do anything that's not Star Wars for quite considerable time. They dropped the rights they had to a book option that they'd picked up. The Willow TV show didn't go as they wanted and is taken off of Disney Plus altogether and has not reappeared anywhere else.
No.
Indiana Jones, this source referred to it as the last film tanking. I don't think it tanked. It just didn't perform like they wanted it to tank. I actually thought it was a really good film. I enjoyed it tremendously. Which isn't the common opinion, I guess. But I thought it was a really great way to allow Harrison to bow out of the role. Do I think they're ready to bring it back? I don't think so. This source suggests that next year at D23 we should expect an announcement to do with the IP. I expect more games because the Great Circle has done tremendously well, like you point out in this article. I can see it maybe getting an animated series, which potentially they've been working on for a number of years already. That would make sense to me. And the Great Circle, a sequel to that, a follow-on game, would make absolute perfect sense as well. Yeah.
I very much agree. As I say, I think I tried to make it clear as I could in the article. I don't think this is very much a rumour, and there's literally nothing even hinted at from Lucasfilm. So it is the reporter in question sort of putting it out there. And obviously, as a Lucasfilm and Star Wars site, we'd be thrilled for more indie. It's more stuff for us to enjoy and talk about. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it's unlikely. I think, as you just said, more likely to get that Great Circle. I don't know, Indiana Jones and the Beggar Triangle. I don't know, sequel to the game. And go that route. And I'd love to see an animated indie show done in a hand drawn, obviously CG, but hand drawn style. I think there's been sort of test things out there in the past that would look amazing. So yeah, fingers crossed for all of that.
Next up in the news front, something that's definitely returning, and I'm quite excited for. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Loved Buffy, loved Angel, had hoped for a Faith spin-off. We kind of got Dollhouse, which was quite good. I quite enjoyed, which Alan Tudyk was in. We didn't get the spin-off with Giles that was long mooted.
Never got Ripper. No.
Yeah, never got Ripper. Never got Spike. And so it kind of felt like the franchise had gone away. Joss Whedon's had a lot of bad media, shall we say. He's not involved in this project other than he's got a stake in it, I guess. See what I did there?
Very good. I love it.
But it's getting rebooted. Maybe not a traditional reboot in that Sarah Michelle Gellar's still going to be stuck around. So it's not so much a reboot. It's basically getting a continuation of the story set many years later. And character very well known to us, or an actor rather, in Ryan Kiera Armstrong, who was Fern and Skeleton Crew, is joining as the new Slayer, who will be known as Nova. And of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar herself was in Star Wars Rebels as the Seventh Sister. So there's lots of Star Wars connections to this, and it's got a name as well. It's going to be called Buffy the Vampire Slayer New Sunnydale. And it's exciting, I think.
It's very exciting. I love Buffy. I was proper soppy for Buffy. I thought that show was brilliant. And I was kind of quietly heartbroken when it finished. And it finished at the right time. We had 6.5 seasons, really. And we had the Angel spin-off for 5 years, which was very different but equally as good. Like you say, we never had Ripper. We should have had the animated show, which they teased. In fact, I think they did a pilot, didn't they? Which was beautifully animated. Right. Yeah. and all the voice casts were back, but that never happened. But yeah, with this, new Sunnydale. So of course, the original Sunnydale fell into the Hellmouth. So I guess at some juncture they have to either move it or build a new one. So that looks great. There's been a bit of obviously you can see SMG there and Ryan training. There's more footage that's come out since of Sarah Michelle walking onto set I think she's in a red dress. I think it's just what she was wearing to go to set, and other little bits of clips of footage. But nevertheless, it's one of our Skeleton Crew stars who are all uniformly fantastic.
Yeah.
And just to say, my interview with Kiera Crater is in the next issue of Star Wars Insider, issue 233. It's just great seeing those guys prospering and doing well. But above and beyond that, Buffy's back. And we've wanted Buffy to come back for so long. Dark Horse did that great run. IDW did an Angel comic. So they've kind of carried on with other stuff. But you can't replace live action. So it's great news.
And I think I was a real big fan of Ryan in Skeleton Crew. I thought she put in a brilliant performance. I think she's perfectly cast for this role as well. Yeah,
very much agree. She's got an edge.
Yeah.
In a nice way, not in an aggressive way, but she to me feels more like Faith than Buffy. So I think that could be an interesting dynamic. There's that about her. She's got edginess about her, which is great. That gives you a lot of scope for things that she can do. So yeah, very excited about this.
Interesting to see what way they take the story as well, because if everyone remembers, Buffy ended where effectively the Buffy gene, shall we call it, was unleashed on anyone who had the potential. So there was a lot of Slayers all over the world at the same time. So interesting if they take that plot point and move forward from that. But yeah, let's go back to the Hellmouth. I'm excited to see what's to come on this show.
Very much so. Very much so.
So that's 2 returns underway so far in the news. We've got a third one. Matt Smith is making his return to Star Wars. And you say making his return to Star Wars, he's never been in Star Wars. He did film, I believe, for episode 9. Much rumoured to have been young Palpatine flashback type segments. And he has been cast in the villainous role for Star Wars Starfighter. That's such a mouthful to spit out. I'm gonna have to practice that one. Excited to see him in the galaxy far, far away. I think he's a tremendous actor. Really enjoying him in House of Dragons at the moment as well. And he's going to be starring opposite Ryan Gosling with filming starting this month, I believe. So exciting times ahead.
Yeah, very exciting. I think, like you say, I think it's one of the worst kept secrets in Star Wars that Matt Smith was involved in episode 9, and they changed tack to whatever degree you decide you like episode 9, I guess. But not that anyone's owed a role, but you kind of always felt that if he came back into Star Wars, it was kind of the right thing for that to happen. We've now got our third Doctor in Star Wars after Tom Baker and David Tennant, which is always a nice little association to have. And yeah, like you just said, everything he's in, he elevates it. He was great in The Crown. He's obviously a fantastic Doctor Who. He's been brilliant in House of the Dragon, and all the other stuff that you've seen him in. I mean, he was in the Terminator franchise. He's done lots of stuff. So for him to come into Star Wars now, and in this era as well. Sorry
to interrupt, but I was going to say a very versatile career in terms of the characters he's portrayed as well.
Absolutely. So that can only bode well for what we're going to get. And I think, if I'm right, Ryan Gosling's first film as a director starred Matt Smith. So there's a connection there, I think, as well.
Interesting. The article reminds us well that Maya Goth is also on board. She's playing one of the villains as well. Rumours abound that they're going to be playing effectively Imperial General type characters opposing to Ryan Gosling's character, who's supposed to be protecting a younger teenage child or something equivalent to that, is the kind of what we've heard as the rough idea of what the plot is. We'll find out more in the months to come, I'm sure. Sean Levy, obviously the director behind Deadpool, involved in the project as well, so it could be something very different for Star Wars.
Yeah, it feels, I mean, if Deadpool and Wolverine and Free Guy and obviously Stranger Things, those kind of shows, he's great with kids. He's great with humour. You know, I think he did the Night in the Museum film, so he's great with visual effects. So he kind of covers all the bases. Yeah, I think I'm getting a good vibe from this. You know, not that we know too much about it, but the people that we do know that have got anything to do with it all seem really excited about it. So it does feel like it's got the right kind of steam behind it. So hopefully, especially as it lands in 50th anniversary month, hopefully this will be a real ticket to some serious box office as well.
I'm hoping they treat the film in slightly different this time around, and that I've been watching closely Spider-Man. I'm not a big Spider-Man fan, but it's filming in my home country, and very much in a public place, and they've been very much engaging with the public as they've been filming it. Although they are now putting up massive sheets to hide the filming, so obviously something exciting is going to be happening Monday if you're in the area to hide what's going on. But they also released a video of the first day of filming, which Tom Holland kind of narrates, and which I thought was great. And I miss the days where StarWars.com had on the set videos, and it can be so obscure and nothing. Look at this fantastic new alien that we've created. And in reality, when you actually see the film, that alien doesn't have a role, and it's just a background alien. But it's fun content for us as fans as the film's getting made. I hope Ryan Gosling, Sean Levy have a different kind of attitude to filmmaking, and I get the impression Ryan Gosling's very much heavily involved in the development of this film as well, that they take a different attitude to how they promote this film going forward. Because it's a spin-off, it needs a different kind of marketing, I think, to bring people in.
I agree. I very much agree. I think you're kind of referring to what JJ did with Boba Joe, and you saw the creature with the thing on his back walking around, and he's probably got less frames in Force Awakens than Constable Zuvio. So, but it didn't matter to us at the time. It was something new. It was like the shot we saw of JJ for the Amaze stuff by Poe's X-wing. We didn't know it was Poe's X-wing at the time. So there was all these little preloaded teases, and as you say,
is it a big deal to reveal an X-wing? It's not, but it's exciting for us as fans because it keeps us hyped. But it doesn't cause a huge spoiler. It's not a huge problem.
And it's goodwill as well, like you say. You mentioned the Tom Holland thing today that came out. I think it was today, wasn't it? It came out.
Yeah.
And such a good vibe from that. And it was a great energy. And we've been seeing these lovely pictures and little video clips throughout the week of the filming. And he seems stoked. He's engaging with the fans. Like you say, it's all goodwill. And I think any franchise now, because the world's so... not bitter, but big franchise films don't necessarily get
people want to be negative before they're positive about anything. Is the way the world is at the moment.
Absolutely, totally.
I think as well, they need to take the lesson from Solo: A Star Wars Story and how it bombed. Marketing for that was awful. It came off a lot of heat off the back of The Last Jedi, which, whether you loved it or hated it, it was divisive. I think everyone has to admit that. It needs a different build, and I would love it if they do something like the video diary type things they used to do in StarWars.com. So fingers crossed we get that. Becca making a really interesting thought, and I hadn't actually thought of this. Matt Smith's character in House of Dragon gives us Marcian Rowe vibes. That's obviously the character from the High Republic, and she wouldn't mind something like that in Starfighter. I agree. I would actually love it if they actually take the time in this film to set up a new group of evil characters. So you don't have to always be the Imperials. It doesn't always have to be the Sith. It doesn't have to be Hutts. Let's create bounty hunters or whatever. Let's create something new that we can constantly keep going back for, and let's pick a new character from that group and make that an ongoing problem group of people to deal with. And world build, because we haven't seen enough world building that's stuck around.
That's true. I mean, it doesn't... Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to be Sith or Empire or Hutts. it also doesn't have to be somebody trying to take over the whole galaxy either.
No, yeah.
It's a big galaxy, so if it's an area of the galaxy, you can regionalize it a little bit. Hello, Becca, by the way. You can regionalize it and do something like that. So there's options. I agree.
I actually refer back to, and I think it's Dave Filoni and Star Wars Rebels made it primarily at the beginning all about Lothal, and I'm not a huge animation fan, so I don't know the story inside out, but I know the flagpole kind of events. But that made it slightly more interesting and made it able for you to connect a lot easier with the characters and the situation. So sometimes you don't need to make it global, galaxy-wide, universal, as you say.
Absolutely.
Moving on to something that's something new. Let's find something old. And look at that smiley face there. I was going to say, is it the same shirt? It's not the same shirt.
No, slightly different. Slightly different.
He has changed. You're on the road this week, Mark, and you went down to Propstore for the launch of their new lightsaber auction, which was the hero lightsaber from Empire and Jedi for Mr. Darth Vader.
Yeah, it was, it was fascinating to see this thing up close for real. It was wonderful that Propstore invited Fantatrax along, so thank you to the guys for that. And it was quite a day. Oh, it's fine. I'm used to things breaking. At least I didn't break that, which would have been tricky. I went down and had a lovely time. There's not many other sites there, actually. Jamie, that I write with on ilm.com and skywalker.com, was there, and James from Jedi News was there, and a couple of other sites were there. Matt from Star Wars Sessions was there. But outside of that, it was more general sci-fi sites and world media and national news. ITV were there. I ended up on the ITV News for about 10 seconds at some point. But to see that thing for real was really special, and there was a buzz in the room. And just to say, it wasn't just the lightsaber. Indy's whip was there from Last Crusade, and Sauron's helmet from Lord of the Rings. There was other stuff in the room, the clapperboard from Jaws, or one of the 4 clapperboards from Jaws. But it really was very much all about that lightsaber. And as you can see there's Brandon Allinger holding it. And we got a bit of audio. I put out a sort of a mini episode of Making Tracks where I spoke to Stephen Lane from Propstore and to Jamie Benning as well, because we were both obviously buzzing about what had happened. And we finished recording and ended up talking to Brandon, who was on the screen there. And after about 5 minutes of general chit chat over a coffee, he said, "Do you want to hold it?" And we were both like, "Yeah." So we go into the other room, put on the white gloves, and later on there's a photograph of me holding it in front of Indy's whip, and Jamie held his in front of the clapperboard. Jamie's a documentarian who's currently working on a Jaws documentary, so it was kind of perfect for him. And wonderful day. Propstore couldn't have looked after us better, and it's very, very special to have the opportunity. There you go. Have the opportunity to have that moment. And I did want to twirl it. You know, Robbie Williams, when he twirls the microphone, I thought about it. But every time I tried it, I dropped the mic. So I thought, better not try with a lightsaber.
Better not. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to slice someone in half.
Absolutely. Exactly that. I was thinking of the room.
Yes. Going to make a bid?
I actually did make a bid, but luckily I was just leaving the premises as I made it, so I didn't hear the reply. I think his estimate is between $1 and $3 million. So why they allowed me to hold it, of all people, is a mystery. But it was very special.
Didn't dig it on the edge of the counter, or?
No. But I tell you what I did do. I actually walked from one side of the room to the other because I wanted it taken next to the Indy whip. And you've literally 5 people following me like this, just in case I tripped over my shoelaces, which thankfully I didn't. But it was, it's got more weight in it than you think. It's quite hefty. You can tell when the blade would have been on it back in the day, it would have had some heft. It would have felt like you were wielding, something of substance, even though a lightsaber would literally weigh nothing more than the hilt, would it? But no, it was very cool. It was a great day, very privileged. Very much like when we went to the BFI to see Star Wars recently. It was a very very special occasion.
And you can listen to it on a special episode of Making Tracks, as you say. The experience there, and that shouldn't be allowed. Like you've put Troid eyes on it. On the
I know.
fact
Well, but there was the Anthony Daniels Propstore auction, and I'd already prepped the picture. I thought, well, it's got Propstore on it. I mean, that saved me doing a new one. So it's a bit of a
it freaks me out,
fudge,
that image of the Fantha. It really does. Great experience. Thanks to Propstore for the invite.
Absolutely.
Nice to get an invite to Galaxy's Edge, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
We need to go back, don't we? Because the last time I was there,
so much.
Last time I was there, we sat down for something to drink, and I didn't realise the Falcon was right behind us until I turned round and went, "My God, there's the Millennium Falcon."
Yes, I remember that.
I have long said that Galaxy's Edge needs more interactive activities of some description. And there's some land getting cleared at Galaxy's Edge. And the big story is, why? What is happening? What is going there? As the classic Disney boards have gone up. Lots going on at Disney just now. Obviously, they're changing a lot with the Muppets, sadly, disappearing, and various other little elements going as well. Star Wars Launch Bay disappearing. Lots going on. Ever evolving. They've got to compete with Epic Universe, the new theme park at Universal as well. So, yeah, there's a area at the edge of the 14-acre park is currently boarded up with trees removed, while the area was recently used as overflow seating for Woody's Lunchbox and Toy Story Land. The two lands are 80 feet apart. What do you think's going on?
It's a tricky one. It's an interesting piece from Blog Mickey. They've done a good job and took some really great pictures. It's well worth a visit over to their site to have a look at the full article. But it could be one of two things, I think. Because that was used as an overflow for Woody, then there's always the chance that this could be an expansion to Toy Story Land. There is the potential of that. But Blog Mickey do seem to think this is a Star Wars related expansion. Now, I know that they want and possibly have details and ideas to do a restaurant, something a bit more substantial, a bit more seating and so on and so forth. So part of me thinks maybe this could be that restaurant related thing. I've not heard.
Proper sit down 3-course meal type restaurants. Exactly
that. I mean, Docket Bay 9 is great. Ogres is more about the drinks and the vibe than it is about the food. God knows, me and Matt had that meal in there. And it was $100 for just bar snacks, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But it was. So yeah. So if they did something more like that, more sort of turn people in, turn them around, turn them out, sort of thing, that would make sense. I've not heard of any more rides or experiences, but hey, that's not to say that there isn't. So I'm hopeful it's something Star Wars related, but there's just a little part of me, because they've used that for Toy Story Land Overflow.
Yeah,
maybe
because Docking Bay is basically fast food and an expensive spork.
Yeah.
From memory, I did buy the spork in the little bag.
Yeah. In the little bag, that's right. That's right.
Didn't use it. Yeah. Could have done with using it, but can't use it. Memento.
No.
It would be interesting to see what they do. It does feel like Galaxy's Edge to me needs more things, because
it does.
The element that takes up most of your time in Galaxy's Edge is actually queuing, which is never the best experience.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point. And it's 14 acres now. If they can grab another acre to do more stuff with it, put another ride, as you just alluded to, if you put another ride in, you're going to put a lot of space for queuing and such. And as you walk out of the back of Galaxy's Edge, opposite Droid, the Droid Builder area or Droid Depot, you're sort of looking diagonally across and you're walking down towards or up that little walkway to Toy Story Land. To the left, there is this area, which is what that is by the looks of it. So there is space to do stuff. And like you say, it's never evolving, not just Galaxy's Edge, but all of Disney. As you say, we've tragically, given that it was Henson's last big project, lost the Muppet 3D theatre, which I think is heartbreaking. Hope we never lose.
Making a great comment as well. Something like Dexter's Diner would be a lot of fun.
Oh wow, wouldn't it? Like a milkshake bar type thing, or that sort of 50s style George, the American Graffiti style thing that George loves so much in episode 2. So yeah, that would be perfect. Anything like that would be great. Let's hope. I think my gut tells me that it's going to be something food related, but I'd happily be wrong.
Is this Florida or Anaheim? It's Walt Disney World, which is Anaheim.
Or Orlando.
Oh, there
Orlando.
we go. I always get it wrong. World. I'm supposed to remember ORL, Orlando. That's a trick.
Clever.
Yeah. News that delighted me, and that's the only reason it's in the show, because it delighted me. A droid finally going away. We actually saw this when we were in Japan, amazingly.
We did.
As we were boarding our flight to China en route home. And it was sat out at the airport in Tokyo.
Who would have known? It was a thrill to see it.
Who would have known that would have been its last appearance? It's an impressive plane. It was exciting to see it. I'll admit that. But it's getting taken away. The livery is getting taken off. After 10 years, it's had its time.
It's had its time. Like you say, 10 years is a good knock for any sort of paint job, or however they put it on vinyls or whatever they do on planes. So it's had a good run. There was 4 planes originally. I think there was a BB-8, a BB-8 in R2, an R2, and a 3PO. Yeah. And now we've just got the 3. Yes, sad beeps indeed. We've just got the 3PO, which I think that gets redecked out or retired, because I think the 2 BB-8 planes got retired. So I think the 3PO plane will be just reskinned into a regular ANA plane. But it's been wonderful. And there's a lovely little piece on the on the site that we've linked to. Name dropped out of my head
Simple
briefly.
Flying.
Simple Flying, there you go. Who basically have a quote from ANA saying it's what a wonderful experience it's been, what a great little partnership, and how pleased they've been to fly those colours, those Star Wars colours. But as you say, it also makes you realise how long ago Force Awakens was. 10 years ago. Yep. It's insane. It still feels not that far back, but it is a decade.
And effectively, the livery is coming off because it's the end of the licence, and that's sad. So C-3PO will continue until January, and then it will be removed at some point. So look out for a flight with J743A towards the end of December if you're heading home for the holidays, and see if you can get on C-3PO on one of its last flights.
That's it.
Next up is the big story, perhaps, of the week. If Matt Smith wasn't enough news, which was exciting, Lucasfilm have settled their lawsuit with Gina Carano. Gina sued them effectively for loss of earnings for being removed from her role of Cara Dune in The Mandalorian. It was something of a long-running saga, and I'm going to pull up some images. These are taken from her lawsuit document against Lucasfilm, just to get some context of what the story was. And effectively, she was removed for posts made on social media, was the bottom line of it all. Her argument was that she was being taunted initially on social media. So she used examples like these where people are asking her to say ACAB. Won't be a phrase familiar in the UK, but effectively it means all cops are, insert expletive of your choice. And people are wanting to say that. There was comments that she was racist if she didn't say she supported the Black Lives Matter or give a donation to it. And she was getting a lot of comments as to do with whether she supported trans rights. Her response to that was to push back, and she posted beep bop boop as her pronouns on social media, which obviously upset a lot of people who use different pronouns and post her pronouns on social media for other people to know and understand. She replied to that backlash, effectively saying it had nothing to do with mocking people, and it was more to do with her exposing the bullying mentality of the mob that she said she experiences on social media. Primarily, the argument being that everyone knows she's the right wing of politics, and so holds a lot of opinions that comment on that dimension of politics. And so they probably knew what her opinions were on certain topics, but they wanted her to make them public in effect. So she kind of felt like she was being brought down without saying anything. This is her argument. Her defence was, look, I spoke to Pedro. He explained why people were putting them in their bios. She recognised that. She removed them. She won't be putting in her own pronouns in her bio, which her choice, her freedoms, whatever. You kind of thought at that point maybe this has resolved the matter to some degree behind the scenes. Not necessarily on social media. People were still upset with her. People were always going to be upset with her, I think. But she doubled down, and she ventured into sharing her beliefs on other topics, such as not respecting COVID legislation that was in place at the time, stopping people from congregating in arenas such as churches or certain businesses not opening back up. That obviously upsets a lot of people, because a lot of people had very tragic losses during the COVID period and experienced a lot of difficulties during lockdowns, which were global all around the world. So she'd been building up tension online, it would be fair to say, and she wasn't holding back. And the final point was she posted this on Instagram, effectively comparing the treatment of Jews in Nazi Germany to how people with different views, political views, are now being treated now. Obviously upset greatly a lot of people, because the Holocaust, one of the most terrible things that's ever happened in the world. Her argument was she wasn't trying to compare it to the suffering of the Jewish people in Nazi Germany. She was comparing it to the point that it wasn't Nazi soldiers that instigated it. It was changing the mindsets of the population of Germany. And if the population of Germany weren't agreeing with what the Nazi soldiers were doing, it wasn't going to happen, was the kind of general thinking. And our point being that if you control what people's thoughts are, especially their political thoughts, that's the comparison she was trying to make. Clumsily made, I think. At best, offensive to a lot of people. And that was the final straw for Lucasfilm. And the legal lawsuit kind of revealed there was a lot going on behind the scenes, where she'd been spoken to a lot by Lucasfilm about her postings. She'd been asked to attend online and in-person meetings with various groups within Lucasfilm, various individuals, including groups within Lucasfilm of employees who are in the LGBT community. Some that she attended, some she refused to. And the lawsuit also revealed there was an email accidentally sent to her that wasn't supposed to go to her, that revealed there'd been a lot of discussion within Lucasfilm about the Fire Gina Carano hashtag that was trending on social media from people that she'd obviously upset. I'll point out that I obviously upset her because she blocked me on social media at the time as well. I can't remember what I said to upset her, but I believe what I said at the time, and I'll repeat it now, was, I'll defend her right to hold abhorrent opinions and to express her abhorrent opinions. That's her right. Everyone's got the right to say what they think on social media. What I didn't agree with was when she started hitting back at individuals on social media with comments, because if you're a celebrity and you have a very large following, when you hit back at someone on social media, your followers will also pile on, and it becomes quite a scary moment for people who maybe used to interacting with a dozen to 100 people on social media. Suddenly you've got thousands hitting up in your comments attacking you for your beliefs. I thought that was wrong when she started responding to individuals. If she'd just been posting on her own thread, I had less of a problem with it. Clearly that upset her, and I think that's what she blocked me for, because I never actually directed anything individually at her. It's a very difficult one, because every single person in the world in their employment contract will have a clause that says if you bring the company you work for into disrepute, you could be dismissed for gross misconduct. It's almost standard in every contract. The whole issue being is it enforceable? And California has its own laws with regards to it. And very clearly being that you can't dismiss someone for something that isn't connected to their employment. So she was employed as an actress to perform the role of Cara Dune on The Mandalorian, and to be the upcoming Mandalorian movie, as well as the Rangers of the High Republic TV series. And that was what she was employed for. She wasn't employed to speak on social topics or political topics for Lucasfilm. And so her argument was that she can't dismiss me for my thoughts on political and social topics that I post on social media because I'm not employed to represent your opinions. Where do you land as an employer if you employ someone and you rely, and it's in the entertainment industry, and you rely on people wanting to go and watch your program or watch your movie when that person's on social media, pissing people off, basically, Mark?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, certainly here in the UK, I would say the entertainment world is more left-leaning than right.
Yeah.
But by the same token, in a free society where people have fought for the right to think and believe what they want to think and believe, and a grown-up society you'd like to hope, you should be able to stand for people to say things that you don't necessarily agree with, as much as promote people who say things that you do agree with. So I there's a level of sympathy there, but in the realms of Star Wars, which is really where I can only really come from, not a political animal at all, really, and very prone to putting my foot in it. I would like to see more Cara Dune. So there's part of me that hopes that there can be a middle ground found, because I think if they were ever going to recast, they'd have recast years ago, and this would be way in the background. But because of this lawsuit, obviously they couldn't. So my big question is, how do you circle the square, sort of thing? How do you make this work to a degree that Gina Carano can come back into the Mandoverse workplace and stand opposite Pedro and stand in front of a camera that might have Jon Favreau behind it and Lucasfilm executives on set, and just carry on like, okay, well, we're all cool now. Yeah, we're both wrestling fans. We know Vince would pretty much let anything go if it's good for business. Yeah. This isn't that world. This isn't that world. And, so it's a different scenario.
That's a great comparison, because like you mentioned, like the world of entertainment in general is left-leaning on politics, and I'll have left-leaning opinions. I'll be prominent more in TV and film. She actually comes from the world of MMA, which is effectively entertainment, same as wrestling. And having worked in that industry, it's very, very much South America, right-leaning political opinions that abound in that industry. And so this is the two worlds collided. And there used to be a time where people could debate their politics and it was fine. We've kind of lost that in recent years. People can't debate anymore. And I've always got this thing is, like, we have lots of people that work for Fanta Tracks. I don't know anyone's political allegiance. Would never ask them. Don't know their religion.
No.
When someone new joins, unless I've seen a picture of them, don't know their race, don't know their sexuality, don't ask these questions because it's not relevant. It's, do you love Star Wars and how do you want to contribute?
That's it.
And it should be the same in entertainment when you've got an actor join a franchise. Are they going to put in a great performance? And let's be honest, it was a great character and she portrayed it very well. And that's, I think, what upsets people about it, because when she was let go by Lucasfilm or dismissed by Lucasfilm, and to clarify that, she wasn't under contract to do anything. It was just that she'd been told, you're going to be in this movie and you're going to be in this TV show. There wasn't signed contracts in place. So technically they didn't dismiss her. But what they did do was put out a statement saying that they weren't going to work with her again and her opinions were abhorrent. If they'd said nothing and just not employed her into the next show or the next season or the film, she couldn't have brought a lawsuit against them if they'd just not made a comment. Because the settlement is to do with like defaming her effectively, and dismissing her on the basis of her opinions. There was nothing to dismiss her from. But as soon as they put the opinion out there that they weren't going to work with her because of her opinions, that gives her a leverage. And that's the interesting aspect of it, because loss of earnings. She also lost her agent, she lost her lawyer. She ended up having never met Elon Musk and still has never met him, never spoken to him. I don't believe that he actually funded her case, because it was his argument was at the time was he was going to fund anyone's legal case who were dismissed because of something they posted on X or Twitter, as it would have been at the time, I think. Bizarrely, so she was well funded in this case, and so it wasn't one that Disney were going to be able to walk over a small person. And as Becca says here, she doesn't want to touch on this topic because of how sensitive it is, and I'm trying very hard to respect everyone. But it's so sad all around. The character played potentially something long lasting. I agree, and I think that's what it is about. It's a character that people missed and were upset about, and she was given adequate opportunity to sort of moderate yourself. You know what I mean? You're in the world of entertainment here. Her argument was Pedro, Mark Hamill have posted rather flagrant comments from a left political opinion, and it didn't get the same treatment that she was getting. It's a fair argument. And where do we sit now? To bring this full circle. Lucasfilm put out a statement saying that the lawsuit's concluded. We look forward to identifying opportunities to work with Ms. Carano in the near future, and that they've reached agreement with Gina Carano to resolve the issues in her pending lawsuit against the companies, which I think it was against Lucasfilm, Disney, and the actual production company, which was Huckleberry Industries, I think it was. And they also made it clear that she was well respected by directors, co-stars and staffs, and she worked hard to perfect her craft while treating her colleagues with kindness and respect. That's clearly worded in a way that was obviously agreed between the lawyers, because she wanted it known. This was a fallout over posts over social media. This wasn't a fallout over things that she'd said personally to people or upset people face to face. Which comes back to my initial point, is people should be allowed to say abhorrent or share their abhorrent opinions. And you can have an abhorrent opinion and still actually be respectful to individuals. And that's where my issue came with, was when she started firing back at individuals on social media, rather than just saying something ridiculous about COVID. She responded to the news story that broke on Variety, just to say that she'd come to an agreement with Disney Lucasfilm, which she believes is the best outcome for all parties involved. I hope this brings some healing to the Force, and she extended her thanks to Elon Musk for his support as well. Will Lucasfilm work with her again? I always look at the wording on these things, and the fact that they refer to her as Miss Carano kind of makes you think there's still an upset there. I think the settlement, originally she was looking for a financial payment, and she wanted to be reinstated. That was what she was campaigning for. So has she gotten that in the settlement? We don't know. There we go. See, we can share abhorrent opinions. The Last Jedi was a good film. There you go from Kev. Thank you very much. Much needed levity at the situation.
Yeah.
Will they work together again? I can see her propping up somewhere, a single episode. It could be an animation as a voice. It could be something, and then disappear completely. So they can say, look, we're not victimising you. We'll use you if we want you. We've just got nothing for you. I can see that happening. The biggest thing that came out of this for me was Lucasfilm weren't the most professional in the way they went about this, really, to be honest. When you read through the lawsuit, they got caught up in dramatically in handling basically inner tension within the organisation between groups of employees who were disgusted with her comments and wanted action, and her not refusing to back down and basically saying, I'm going to post what I want, and my opinions to social media has got nothing to do with my job. And Lucasfilm were kind of in the middle and just handled it badly for everyone, because I think everyone ends up upset. I predicted at the time it would become settled, because I couldn't, when you look at it and you ignore all the personal opinions and you just look at it from a legal basis, I think she was always going to win it. On the basis of, you can't sack someone because you don't like what they think. You can't be thought police. Unless you're employed to be the PR person and your whole job is to promote the company in a positive light.
Don't go to a Coldplay concert.
Yeah. I can't see you being dismissed. And it's very common that companies do. And people don't challenge it because it's very expensive to bring a lawsuit against an organisation. An organisation can afford to spend thousands that individuals don't necessarily have. So it's always something that continuously companies will sack people because of things they did. And you read it all the time that such and such misbehaved on social media or on holiday and posted a picture, and now they've been sacked by their job at the Tesco or whatever, which had nothing to do with serving people at a till, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just really difficult. I don't think Lucasfilm came out looking clever. Don't think they behaved very cleverly to do with this. I think if they just kept their mouth shut and just never worked with her again, if that's what they wanted, nothing would have happened. And I think they'll have learnt a very valuable lesson throughout this. But will she work with them again, Mark? What's your thought? Do you think, can you see it happening?
Yeah, I can. I can see them doing something. Two quick things, actually. One, I used to write for Star Wars Encyclopedia, and one of the articles I wrote was about Cara Dune. Actually, I think I did 3 or 4 articles about it, and it's a fascinating character, the whole history, the Alderaan background, you know, the way she came into the mercenary life and the things that she did. One, I think there's more to explore there. Purely as a character, there's more to explore there. I'm kind of surprised they've not done books about it or comic series. There's definitely steam in that character. Secondly, from a practical point of view, if you look back at The Mandalorian when it started to where we are now, Pedro is now the voiceover guy. Carl Weathers, bless him, is no longer with us. So, you know, there's not that many of that Mando era team around. So I think to bring her back into it as a character, that if you look at purely characters, Mando and Cara Dune work well together. They respected each other. So from a purely character point of view, that would work. Also, from a business point of view, that's going to get a heck of a lot of eyes on a product if you're bringing Gina Carano back after a high-profile case. So, and it is show business. So any edge you can get, you take, especially, you know, in these sort of franchise wars that we're having. Look at this past July with the 3 big films that came out. I think everyone expected Fantastic Four to do mega numbers, and it's actually struggling. It's Superman and Jurassic are the two that are prospering. So I think any edge you can get in that sense would help them. They probably wouldn't turn that away. But it all comes down to creative, really. Again, it's another wrestling parallel.
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason to bring the character back. And they've got to think, well, it felt like they were pivoting a little bit with the whole Rangers of the New Republic. I know it got put to one side, but now it feels like that team's more likely to be Mando and Cobb Vanth and characters like that rather than Cara. And Greef Karga is out of it as well, obviously, because Carl Weathers no longer here. So the landscape has changed, and I think also finally the Mandoverse, outside of what we've got coming next year with Mando and Grogu, which was mostly filmed last year, feels like that's kind of run out of steam a little bit. We're not hearing of a sequel to Skeleton Crew. We're not hearing of another season of Ahsoka beyond what we're getting with season 2, which can't be that far away from concluding filming now. So the Mandoverse is a project.
Ewan McGregor said at a Comic-Con today that he's going to be in season 2.
Well, that would be awesome if he is. That would be very cool if he is.
Yeah.
In a flashback, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, so that would be again another brilliant opportunity to do more. But yeah, it's a tricky one. Whatever you say, however neutral you say it, you kind of feel like you're stepping on somebody's sensitivities because it's a hot topic. It's a touchy topic. Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that, Kev. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. It all depends on
whether, because she wanted her 75 grand and she wanted to be reinstated, is the agreement, have they guaranteed her work? And can they get away with perhaps just throwing some money out and say, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a project for you, but here's the wage for the project you missed out on?
Yeah.
That could be the solution.
I mean,
I think it's very difficult.
So many actors sign triple movie deals, don't they? And they only make the one film, get paid for all three. So
yeah, I think the difficult thing for any business now, and let's just take America because it's the easiest. America is pretty much split 50-50 right down the middle in terms of its political opinions. So if you pick a side, you lose half your audience. So the best thing to do is not pick a side. And Lucasfilm had the choice here to not pick a side publicly, but they were under a lot of pressure from groups within their own company, and it's kind of all blown up in their face. And probably, I know a lot of people are saying it's not, she hasn't won. She has won this case because one, they've had to clarify that she was very well respected by everybody she worked with and showed kindness and respect. They've had to pay her, which is very clear. And they've also said publicly that they're willing to work with her again. Whether they do or not, different kettle of fish. But we can't hide from the fact she won this, and she was always going to win it because she was legally in the right. Whether you think morally she was or not, kind of irrelevant at the end of the day, as harsh as that is, but it is. And it kind of reminds me of the Sydney Sweeney advert in the jeans, and everyone's kind of become crazy over the fact. When I first saw the advert, I thought, oh yeah, she does have good genes. That was my takeaway. That was entirely my takeaway. I did not, for one thing, connect it to anything more nefarious than that. But some people will, because people will find offence in anything and everything, and people will make anything and everything political in this current climate. And we've lost the ability to say, I don't agree with you, and move on. It's just I don't think she's going to end up in anything significant, because I think if they do, it just brings a lot of heat to that individual project and a lot of protests and a lot of online carry on, and I think it would upset a lot of employees within Lucasfilm as well. I think it'd be more trouble than it is. I can see her doing a voice recording for an animated show where she actually does it remotely and never has to meet anyone. As you often see people standing in the cupboards in their houses doing their audio recordings. I can see something like that. But yeah, I don't think it's someone we'll see back. And as upsetting that is come back to, as you've said and as Becca said at the start, great character that had great potential. And she was warned and warned and warned. It wasn't like she didn't get enough warnings. And she's not a stupid person. she knew where it was going to go. Threw away a very promising career because it looked like she had a very good future in the entertainment industry. I can't see many companies wanting to work with her because they all know we're going to get backlash, and we just don't need that. I think more companies just want to be neutral and play it down the middle now, and not have to face backlash for anything. And so it's easier to say no to her, and that's why I boiled back to what I said at the very start, and it still rings true. Lucasfilm should never have made a public comment. There would never have been a legal case. She could have disappeared, and that would have been it. Just take the story in a different direction, and we'd all say, "Oh, we miss Cara Dune. We wish Cara Dune was back," and that would have been it. But
very true. Very true.
It's a sad state of affairs. She doesn't come out of it looking great. Lucasfilm don't come out of it looking great, and everyone's probably still annoyed by the whole situation, whether you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
Sad days.
At least we're still neutral here at Fantha Tracks, aren't we?
Well, yeah, we are, because everyone's got a right to opinion. Like we say on the show, people's comments are as valuable as ours. Just my thought, it's just your thought. What's people at home's thoughts are just has as much worth as any of ours. So if we're posting something to FanthaTracks.com, we always try and play it down the middle, because some people, like Kev made a comment about The Last Jedi, some people love The Last Jedi, some people don't. But it's still part of Star Wars. So if there's news about people to do that were in The Last Jedi, why wouldn't we report it? And people can still have their own opinions, and they can still read the news. That's kind of how it should be.
Totally.
We spoke earlier about making tracks. Obviously, your podcast on on Fantha Tracks Radio, and you were at Propstore last week, so you've got a special out just now. What have you got coming up the show this coming week, however?
Good question. I am recording with Mark tomorrow, and fingers crossed, if the stars align, that shall be out on Tuesday, a regular episode. We've had a bit of not a break. We've not put as many episodes out over the last few weeks because Mark was on holiday and I was tied up with work. So we're hopefully getting back into the rhythm of that. So that should be coming out on Tuesday. And then tomorrow night, I'm talking to Ethan Sachs, who most people will know for writing Bounty Hunters for Marvel. He's currently writing the Codebreaker 4-parter for Dark Horse. So we should be talking about that and other bits and bobs. So fingers crossed again, if everything goes well, that should be out on Friday at 7 o'clock on Fantha Tracks Radio.
Fantastic. Look forward to that. Mark, I appreciate you greatly for coming on the show this week, filling in for Paul. There won't be a show next weekend because we're all going to build some droids at the Droid Builders UK annual convention, which I always go to because I love droids.
You do. We're flying you there on an ANA R2-D2 plane. I don't know if we've told you that yet, but
is it going to fly into Harper Adams?
Yeah, we're landing it on the car park. Yeah, it's amazing.
Excellent. I actually love the event because as much as I get frustrated with droids, I like droids that have a purpose, but yes. I also admire the ingenious ways that these guys build the droids, and it's actually fascinating to see what's involved. And great presentation last time we were down, and looking forward to seeing the presentations this year as well. And you learn a little bit of insight of what's involved in the building of the franchise as well.
Exactly, and there's some good panels coming up. I think there's a behind the scenes of Andor panel. There's Josh Lee's there. There's some good guests. There's some good folks there, like you say. So we always walk away with a nice bit of content for Fantha as well. And it's most importantly, it's a good weekend.
Excellent. So I look forward to seeing you there, Mark. And in the meantime, it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from me and from Paul.
And from Paul. Paul will be back in a fortnight, everyone. Till then, good night.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on FanthaTracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantha Tracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantha Tracks TV to be alerted to new content and be a part of our live shows.